past 2 weeks in the sports world has been kind of crazy. So let's get into it. Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Cowboy and the Hawk's Nest podcast. I'm your host, Aaron. Today we'll be tackling the subjects of Dak signing his franchise tag, what the Jets want for Jamal Adams, Seattle possibly signing Antonio Brown to an actual NFL contract, and the MLS coming back with the MLS is Back tournament and the schedule for the Sounders. Let's get right into it. Headline news: Dak Prescott signed his franchise tag worth $31 million. What this means for the Cowboys is that Dak Prescott is going to be playing this season. We're not going to have any holdouts. We're not going to have any drama coming from the Dak Prescott camp or the Jerry Jones camp as it relates to him playing the season or not. We're going to have a great team, and those damn Eagles better watch out. $31.07 million hit toward the cap, but they are still trying to get a long-term deal done and have until July 15 to get that done. Do I think it's going to get done? Yes. I think it'll get done because Jerry Jones has a lot of incentive to get it done so that Dak doesn't hurt the salary cap for the next couple of years when we have to start re-signing some key players to deals again. Second part of Cowboys news: the Jets have reportedly stated that in order for them to be comfortable trading Jamal Adams to the Cowboys, they're going to need La'el Collins, the Dallas Cowboys starting right tackle. I can tell you right now, if it were me, if I was Jerry Jones, this would be a hell no. Because right tackles come at a premium. I know everyone wants to make a ginormous deal about the left tackle, and they should, because the blind side of the quarterback is typically on that side and needs very much to be protected by the best. But there have been a lot more up-and-coming left tackles. La'el Collins is so good, has very good speed for that big of a man, is so strong, just incredibly strong when blocking for Zeke and in pass blocking. He is one of the cornerstones. So I would go back to the Jets and say, no, I'm sorry, we're not trading you La'el Collins for Jamal Adams. We will trade you a first-round pick and a third-round pick for Jamal Adams, because that's what he's worth. And the Cowboys are most likely going to get a compensatory third-round pick for losing Byron Jones. So we don't have to give up our only third-round pick for this upcoming year. And the final bit of Cowboys news: the first preseason game of the year, the Hall of Fame game, with the Dallas Cowboys playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, has been canceled, along with, sadly, the Hall of Fame enshrinement ceremony. And it will be moved to merge with the 2021 enshrinement ceremony. I find it sad because one of the enshrinees is Jimmy Johnson, the architect of the 90s Cowboys dynasty. There would be no 3 Super Bowls in 4 years without Jimmy Johnson, especially the 1995 team. Because we got to be honest here, Barry Switzer was not that great of a head coach. He won the Super Bowl because almost no one left from that amazing 1994 Cowboy squad. except for Jimmy Johnson. So all the players knew exactly what they had to do and how they were going to do it effectively, even with the administration turning over. And he needs his own Hall of Fame ceremony. And I don't know how it's taken them this long to vote him into the Hall of Fame. I swear, some of these sports writers are just insane with how they handle this stuff. On First Take this morning, I was watching a segment where Stephen A., Max Kellerman, and Tim Hasselbeck were discussing whether this cancellation is going to be indicative of the NFL regular season. And I swear, the only rational person who thought of... Well, there were two. I can see Tim Hasselbeck when he was merging both sides into an argument. But I swear, Stephen A. is the only one who can pick up reality. Especially with this COVID-19 stuff. Because Max Kellerman, for some reason, thinks that because he is on a high horse in an upper tax bracket that everyone else is living like that and has to quarantine themselves in order to survive. Newsflash, Kellerman. Not everyone lives like you, getting a multi-million-dollar contract from ESPN to debate sports and to have your own boxing show. My bad. I'm just ranting right now. Called Max on Boxing. Some people need the economy to come back to support their families because their businesses are failing because they don't have the customers. With quarantine and with these phases that slowly merge the disaster, the crisis that we're having right now, and back to real life. So sometimes quarantine needs to be broken so that they can survive. Now, I'm not saying that that is indicative of every NFL player, every NFL owner, but at some point we need to reach normalcy. The best way to reach normalcy is to bring back sports, because it's one of the only only avenues in this world that brings everyone together, no matter what race, what creed, what music you like, what life you come from. If you're cheering for the same team as someone else, regardless of any of those things, you are brothers in that moment, because you don't care about that. We're both just having a great time cheering for our team, booing the refs, booing the other team, because that's how we have fun. And to possibly suggest that they shouldn't play deprives America of that unity, which this country is sorely lacking in right now. And you think to suggest not playing NFL helps? Stop it. And also, Max is acting like the NFL doesn't have a contingency plan for whether or not fans are going to have to be in attendance or not, because they just haven't announced it. I'm pretty sure Max realizes that companies tend to not make announcements until they have to. The NFL doesn't have to make an announcement now, because in a couple of months, the situation could be different. Whether the curve has leveled out, dropped off the face of the earth, or skyrocketed, and we need some even more strict boundaries. But they're not going to announce it until they need to. Surely an entrepreneur like Max would know this. But no. He's suggesting that we should just cut out the number one thing that gets views in the United States every single year. Because how much of a production it is to do. Granted, there is a lot of people that are needed to make an NFL game possible. A lot of them. And I realize we can't have a bubble. So how about we just do the best we can, testing people, the players, the staff, the coaches, the announcers, the camera crew, everyone. Just test them. Quarantine players when needed. Quarantine staff when needed. Quarantine coaches, announcers, camera crew when needed. If they test positive, set them off to the side and we'll be fine. Why all the hullabaloo about not making the season? Canceling the whole season. Come on, Max. You know how this game works. Not only are the players not going to stand for it, the owners aren't going to stand for it. America isn't going to stand for it because they want something to distract them from COVID. We can use the same schedule as before. Just make sure there's like a police escort or something to clear everyone away from the players. Something. We can't hold off because there's no deadline for a vaccine. No one's come out and said that they will have a vaccine by then, by some date, by some arbitrary date in like May of next year. If there was, then we could possibly do that. I'd possibly be down for maybe not having football this year, but there isn't. No one's come out and said it. And no one's going to come out and say it, most likely, by the start of the original season. When the time when the first preseason game gets started. So Max, even though cases are skyrocketing in Florida, where the MLS tournament is, where the NBA will be, we will be fine. We're Americans. We've gotten over every single disaster that has happened, domestically and internationally. We will get through this. And having seasonal regulars like the NFL, like the NBA returning, like the MLB season coming back for 60 days, like MLS coming back, like all sports around the world, like Premier League, like the Premier League in England, the Bundesliga in Germany, and La Liga in Spain, they're all coming back because it's what the public wants, it's what the players want, it's what the owners want, it's what everyone wants. We're not closing down just because you say so, Max. How about them apples? On to some other news with Seattle. Something that's even more crazy than Max Kellerman's views about COVID and sports returning. Seattle is having serious, legitimate talks with Antonio Brown to have him on the roster for the 2020 season. I'm not going to say a thing about his talent because he has extreme talent. He is an extremely talented wide receiver in the NFL. But this man has got to be insane. With the tweets that he has posted in the past, going to school and then, hey, can someone do my essay for me? When there's a blue check mark right next to his name. You really think that no one was going to catch on that you were going to cheat? And then you're bad-mouthing Robert Kraft, and then just a little bit later on in the day or the next day, apologizing, saying that I want a job in the NFL again, and then bad-mouthing, and then saying sorry again, posting trying to get your baby mama arrested by the cops because of her not being able to get the keys to get your children to school? This is one area where I agree with Max Kellerman on. We need to give him a stupid test. We need to check his IQ, check if he has CTE, because I'm pretty sure Vontaze Burfict screwed him up even more than normally back in, I think it was 2016 or something like that, when he hit shoulder pad to his head. He must have just absolutely screwed him up because he is acting like like an insane asylum patient. And he needs help. He needs genuine help. And somehow Pete Carroll and John Schneider think that it's a good idea to employ this man, whom we don't even know if he is capable of staying on the field for 2 games. You really want to waste your time trying to get him back into the NFL when you could be trying to sign Jadeveon Clowney, and when you're not even sure if he can stay in the NFL. I can't endorse this, not in the slightest. Only if he demonstrates that he has changed will I be okay with this. It just could not be me. It couldn't be me. And finally, on to the last bit of news. The Seattle Sounders have their schedule for the MLS is Back tournament. I have it right here on the official documents. The Seattle Sounders will play the San Jose Earthquakes on July 10 at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time on ESPN. This is going to be an easy game. Even though they have Chris Wondolowski, this is going to be easy. On July 15, the Seattle Sounders play FC Dallas at 6 a.m. Pacific time on ESPN. This is going to be the tough one because Dallas has given Seattle trouble in the past. And they're a pretty good team, but I still think they will come out with a W. And finally, on July 20, the Sounders play the Vancouver Whitecaps at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time on TUDN, which is basically a Spanish channel. If I'm not mistaken, they're affiliated with Univision, and that's the only channel that will show them, nationally at least, on broadcast. Now, all of these games could possibly be shown on the local affiliates, like for Seattle, I believe it's KJOZ. I think it's Joe TV. They could be showing the Sounders games, but I have no information of that at this time. I will tell you next week if I have that kind of information, but like I said, I just don't have that information at this time. Anyway, Vancouver Whitecaps, easy dub. Easy dub. I will be watching every single one of these Sounders games and attempt to watch every single MLS is Back tournament game starting July 8th at 6 a.m., I believe, is the Inter Miami FC versus Orlando SC. I will be watching this tournament with extreme interest. And I will be recapping the week's games on Thursday or Friday of that particular week. To bring you guys all up to speed if you haven't watched the games. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This is your host, Aaron of the Cowboy and the Hawk's Nest podcast. And as always, go Hawks. How about them Cowboys? And born in 1974, Sounders. And now we win like never before, Sounders. We love our boys in the famous green, the greatest team that you've ever seen, the Seattle Sounders, born in 74. Have a nice day, bitches.